Held for questioning, CTAC takes an 18-year-old who threatens mass killing into custody. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Archibald Gordon.
And I'm Doreen Samuels. Also this evening, we want a Zozo. MP calls for Special Security Forces operation in Augustown.
The fight's not over. Opposition says national ID issue will be heading to court.
Crack in the union. JCTU split over decision to sign 4-year wage agreement.
Keep your word. Residents in Chesterfield, St. Mary called for the government to build a bridge promised in the recent by-election.
And in business news, rollback prices. Wisynco chairman calls for businesses to pass on savings from stronger dollar.
There's also sports commentary and weather in the primetime package. But before the break, the feedback question.
This evening we're asking, do you think there are adequate safeguards to protect Jamaican schools from mass shootings that are common in the United States?
Share comments online, facebook.com/televisionjamaica and Twitter Television Jam.
Please stay with us. Primetime News returns after this break.
Welcome back to Primetime News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com.
A reminder as well that you can watch TVJ live by downloading our One Spot Media app in Google Play Store or the App Store.
First up this evening, the 18-year-old student of Wolmer's Boys School in Kingston who sent a voice note threatening violence against his fellow students was questioned this afternoon by the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch, CTOC.
The young man who was detained this morning was questioned along with his parents and other students.
It is not clear when the voice note was made, but in light of recent school shootings in the United States, its existence, which listed potential targets, caused anxious moments at Wolmer's Boys School this morning. TVJ's Herman Green reports from our newsroom.
Thank you, guys. Well, a decade ago, a comment like this from a teenager would have been brushed aside as nothing. But in light of several school shootings in the United States, including one just last week in Parkland, Florida, parents, teachers, and particularly the police are treating this voice note seriously.
The 10 minutes and 35-second voice note was circulated on social media Monday morning. In it, a teenager who identifies himself as a student of the Wolmer's Boys School threatened to carry out a mass killing. He lists societal behavior and being ostracized by friends as his motivation. The voice note caught the attention of head of CTOC, Assistant Commissioner of Police Fitz Bailey.
We had actually deployed personnel, operational persons to the particular school just in case. A decision was taken and I was dispatched as the head of CTOC. It shows the level of seriousness that was placed on such a voice note.
We're aware of it. We have gotten the student, we have spoken to the student and parent, and it is being dealt with. The school community is extremely safe.
A release from the police high command said a high-level investigative team is now probing the threat. ACP Bailey confirmed with TVJ News that the 18-year-old student who created the voice note was identified and held for questioning. His parents were also called in for questioning.
I just want to reassure the public that there is no need to be panic at this time. We believe that the individual, based on our assessment, do not have the capacity or the capability to execute the plans that he has actually outlined on the voice note.
We were told that some parents who heard the voice note kept their children at home. However, others say they did their own assessment of the situation.
I actually did hear the voice note. I was very concerned, but the school had sent out information that the students were safe.
Based on what is happening, they just need a little attention. You know, what is happening, like when we listen in the States and all of this thing, what's happening in the States. I'm just figure saying, should I do something to get little attention.
Now, earlier this afternoon, ACP Bailey also gave an insight into the investigation so far. For one, he says, from what he has seen so far, the 18-year-old student is more intelligent than the average student. He left primary school on a scholarship, we understand, and now has several scholarship offers for universities. He also noted, however, that he is not the only teen being questioned.
We have actually taken into our custody, if you may, 2 other students who were actually questioning in relation to certain statements that were actually made in that voice note. And we are exploring, as I said, all the leads. But I want to reassure the nation that there's no need to be panicked at this time.
So we continue to monitor this investigation and provide the information as it becomes available. Reporting from the newsroom, I'm Herman Green. It's now back to you.
Thank you, Herman. In the meantime, the CTOC head says based on this morning's events, plans are in place to better prepare the JCF for the eventuality of another threat of this nature. ACP Bailey says a meeting was held today to discuss the matter.
Meanwhile, the family who lived with the alleged shooter in the Florida high school massacre is talking about their experience with him. Kim and James Sneed took in Nicholas Cruz after his adoptive mother died in November. They say they did not see any warning signs. More in this report.
The family who took Nicholas Cruz in for 3 months says they had a monster living under their roof and they never knew it.
Everything everybody seems to know, we didn't know.
James and Kimberly Sneed, whose son was a friend of Cruz's, are telling news outlets they had no idea Cruz was capable of inflicting the kind of carnage he did, even though they knew he was depressed and knew he had an AR-15 style assault rifle in their house. They spoke to ABC's Good Morning America.
It seemed like you had no problem with him having a weapon.
No, not at all. He followed the rules.
He followed the rules.
Followed the rules.
They weren't allowed to be out if we weren't home or one of us wasn't home. And he knew that, and to our knowledge, he never had them out.
The attorney for the Sneeds tells CNN they were not aware of previous police incident reports saying the police had been to the Cruz house more than 20 times between 2011 and 2016 to check on multiple outbursts reported by his now deceased mother, including one incident where she said he'd hit her with a plastic vacuum cleaner hose. And the Sneeds lawyer says they were not aware of this report from the Florida Department of Children and Families, filed in November 2016, a year before the Sneeds took Cruz in. CNN has obtained a copy of the report detailing an in-home investigation of Cruz, indicating that the agency was aware of his posts on Snapchat of him cutting both of his arms. The report says Mr. Cruz is a vulnerable adult due to mental illness. He has depression, that he stated he plans to go out and buy a gun. But then the report concludes that his final level of risk is low because he lived with his mother and was receiving counseling.
Was that the right conclusion to make?
Maybe a year ago it was, but obviously that changed over this year time period where the mother passed away, and apparently he wasn't going to counseling anymore.
CNN reached out to the Florida Department of Children and Families to ask why they concluded that Cruz's level of risk was low. They didn't respond to our request. CNN has learned the shooter had obtained at least 10 firearms, all of them rifles. The Sneeds say Cruz deceived them.
Before he moved in, one of the stipulations is he had to get a gun safe. And we got a gun safe on the way back from Lantana from moving his stuff to our house.
And did he didn't have free access to this gun safe?
No. I thought I had the only key to the gun safe.
I think that's just one factor in a string of factors that caused this to happen, going all the way back to matching these different reports up, these 20 times that law enforcement had been out there or youth services had been out there visiting him.
Students and teachers at the St. James High School today mourn the loss of one of their own, Tiana Clark, who was brutally murdered over the weekend. TVJ's Lana Gay Franklin has that story.
It was not a usual Monday for the St. James High School as classmates of 14-year-old Tiana Clark laid flowers on her desk, a space left empty after her nude body with a wound to the head was found in an abandoned house meters away from her home in Cunningham Drive, Granville, St. James on Sunday. Young Tiana left home Friday evening after asking her mother for $10 to purchase a cup soup at a nearby shop, but she did not reach her destination. Here lies the $10 coin in the very spot where Tiana was brutally murdered.
My cousin called me and said to me, say, they find one body over my yard over there. I go looking for Tiana. I start crying now. I say, we don't have to look at Tiana. I know me no certificate for see her because we try to keep your passport. I don't know Tiana look. But then tell me, say, they lick him in her forehead. I can take a buckle and lick him in her forehead. And then she's asthmatic. So if you get a lick, it will kind of weak her out. And I think in the same put a bag over him face, so I get one ladder bag or something. And then say she naked.
At school, her classmates wrote notes expressing how much they miss her as counselors tried to take them through the grieving process.
We're not expecting this at this time. We're not. And to see a young child, a grade 8 student, promising student, being murdered, we don't know how to cope.
In the meantime, the police have taken a man into custody for questioning in connection with the girl's death. Community members taking the law into their hands set his house ablaze. Lanigay Franklin, TVJ News.
Our top story this evening, the police question an 18-year-old Wolmer student who circulated a voice note threatening violence against his fellow students. Still ahead, residents in Chesterfield St. Mary call for the government to keep its promise to build a bridge in the community. And in business news, Wisynco chairman calls for his business colleagues to pass on savings from stronger dollar to consumers. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. The opposition People's National Party, PNP, says it has not given up in its fight against the National Identification Registration Act, NIDS. Speaking at a PNP meeting in Clarendon last night, opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips says the matter is to be taken to court. TVJ's Vashon Brown has more.
The National Identification Registration Act was passed last November with objections from various groups including the parliamentary opposition. Just last week, the government indicated during the throne speech that it is moving ahead with developing the National Identification and Registration Authority regulations to accompany the act. But for the PNP, the matter is far from over.
We plan to go to court over the National Identification Bill because we're not leaving it, sir.
With issues like crime still a big talking point for the opposition, Dr. Phillips says he wants to have dialogue with the government.
We in the People's National Party are calling for the Vale Royal talks to take place quickly and urgently and to begin with the discussion of crime and the fixing of the criminal justice system. Because since them not here, we want to talk with them directly, earnestly.
In relation to the appointment of the Chief Justice, Dr. Phillips argues that the Prime Minister still needs to correct his error in appointing Justice Brian Sykes to act in the post.
We hear the Cabinet issue a statement. We hear somebody from the press leak it said Friday gone and we have signing. But the one thing we have not heard from the Prime Minister is a clear statement that he's going to correct his mistake. Because his one man can make it simple, you know. Issue a statement that says, as soon as the constitutional arrangements can be completed, I will confirm the appointment of the Chief Justice. Solve everything. Nobody don't have to leak nothing. Nobody don't have to report what you're going to say. You can just say it yourself, but what happened? Here's tough.
Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
Frustration is mounting in Chesterfield St. Mary as residents grow wary about a by-election promise that seems to have been forgotten. Months ago, Prime Minister Andrew Holness toured the area during an election campaign, promising residents that a bridge will be constructed to improve access to their community. The only access now is by walking through a river. TVJ's Shamela Mitchell brings us this primetime news follow-up.
Chesterfield St. Mary became a highlight during the by-election campaign in October 2017. Prime Minister Andrew Holness was pictured wading through a river in the community, seeking votes for the Jamaica Labour Party's Dr. Norman Dunn in the St. Mary Southeastern by-election. Seeing firsthand how the residents access their community, the Prime Minister tweeted this video. But months later, nothing has changed. The dangerous trek to get into Chesterfield is highlighted by this man's determination to get across the river that was in spate, following days of heavy rains.
We are running out of patience right now, because we need a bridge for walk one.
The longer it takes to get a bridge, the more frustrated the residents become.
We don't want no promise. I was tired for walking at the water. We're going to vote. Everybody over there vote. I will need the bridge. If we don't argue with us, I don't argue it.
It's not the first time the residents have been promised a bridge. They're trying to help themselves build one. These 2 columns show work, which was started, but stopped following another promise.
If them never stop, would I reach far? But them come on the river, I get to know, because every night people go out early morning. Sometimes 4:30 we out here, 5 o'clock we out here. Sometimes at 11 o'clock we just go home and we have to come take off our shoes and we have to go over there.
This resident is, however, optimistic that a bridge will be built soon.
I know when a Prime Minister promises something different from when a MP promises. And the Prime Minister no want the level and whatsoever upon him name. So if he promise to give us a bridge there, I feel like it's coming. But Rome never built in one day.
When our news centre contacted Member of Parliament for St. Mary's South Eastern, Dr. Norman Dunn, he informed us that a meeting was held with residents 2 weeks ago to update them on what has been done to date.
The update is that the bridge is being constructed overseas and is to be shipped to Jamaica, I believe, the end of February or the first week or early March. The NAA is the lead agency with the bridge.
But communications manager at the National Works Agency, Stephen Shaw, says he's not aware of any bridge to be constructed in Chesterfield.
I really could not speak to that.
It has not reached the NAA?
I don't know. It has certainly not reached to my level.
The residents still hope, but they say they will have to see it to believe it. Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
Residents of Guys Hill and St. Catherine were inconvenienced this morning after the temporary road being used to reach Linstead was reclaimed by the landowner.
No more. That seems to have been the silent cry after a frustrated landowner reclaimed his property from the motoring public. The owner, Anthony Jackson, made arrangements on Sunday night to have dirt and debris strewn across a temporary road on his property, effectively blocking Monday morning traffic. It's reported that the temporary road was cut by the National Works Agency with the permission of the landowner after the main road was severely damaged by flood rains in May 2017. Mr. Jackson says he was promised compensation for the use of his land, but to date has received none.
What I'm asking for my property to be fenced because I've lost all my crops that I have there. Cantaloupe, pumpkin, yam, breadfruit, oranges. Trees that were bearing was destroyed by the bulldozer to make the road pass. So you're asking for that compensation? I am asking for that compensation.
Motorists who use the road say they understand the frustration. They believe unless action is taken, they will never get their road fixed.
Yes. And it hurt us badly because we have to pay extra money when the people block them road. So we would have liked the government to start with something about our road now from the time that it has been destroyed. And we can't do anything else. We have to drive a taxi and we have to pay for our parts and we have to pay all kind of tax. So what go on with the government and the roads? The roads need to fix all of them.
Member of Parliament for St. Catherine North Eastern Leslie Campbell says the issue stems from the lack of compensation from the National Works Agency and the National Land Agency for Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Jackson decided, well, it was taking too long for them to deal with the issue, and so he's taking matters into his own hand. Well, as you know, it's not the route that we would have preferred that he took, but so be it. I have arranged for a tractor to come and to remove the debris and for us to have free passage for the people. And I'll take him into National Works Agency so that he can have the discussions and for the completion of the agreement between himself and that agency.
Mr. Campbell says after discussions with contractors, work is to begin to fix the main road by the end of this week. Jeline Pearson, TVJ News.
Not so fast. The People's National Party's response to news that Anne-Marie Vaz, the wife of West Portland Member of Parliament Daryl Vaz, is thinking about running on a JLP ticket for East Portland. Here's TVJ's Janella Pursues with that story.
The next general election is not constitutionally due for another 3 years, but already a battle royale is brewing in East Portland between the current MP, Dr. Linvale Bloomfield, and prospective candidate for the Jamaica Labour Party, Anne-Marie Vaz. A Jamaica Gleaner article indicating Sunday that Mrs. Vaz is tipped to be the JLP's standard bearer, having received overwhelming support based on the poll conducted by Trinidadian pollster Derek Ramsamouche. TVJ News is in receipt of the poll, which had a sample of a little over 2,800 residents. 46% of persons polled said they would vote for Mrs. Vaz when put up against the current MP, Dr. Linvale Bloomfield, the current JLP caretaker Darren Wood, and the PNP's Andrea Moore. 54% of the respondents said Mrs. Vaz was their choice. Dr. Bloomfield polled 34%, Mr. Wood under 9%, and Ms. Moore less than 4%. The poll is also suggesting that East Portland, a traditional People's National Party seat, has gone green. 49.59% of respondents said they will vote JLP in the next general elections, while 23.53% said they will vote PNP. Dr. Bloomfield has rubbished any suggestion that the party is losing ground in the constituency.
Basically, it's not as a surprise, but we are basically doing what we need to do and focusing on what it is that is our mandate and our work on the ground to ensure that the People's National Party is adequately represented, that the work is done on the ground for and on behalf of the people, and then they will speak. We have absolute trust in them, and we know how they will respond.
He further contends that at the local government level, the party's support is also strong.
And I'm sure from our stronghold in Prospect Division, as well as in the Port Antonio Division with the veteran Dexter Rowland, and all the others who have been there and done that, who have experience in Benny White and of course Elaine Osborne, and a new person in Fair Hill Division, Andre Plunkett. I am sure we'll, at the local government level, put forward a team that will certainly be victorious when the time comes.
In the last general election, the PNP increased its margin of victory in East Portland, winning the seat by over 2,000 votes. Janella Precious, TVJ News.
All is not well in the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, JCTU, following its decision last week to sign a 4-year wage deal with the government. TVJ News has been informed that during a meeting on Monday afternoon with members of the Confederation, there was a walkout by representatives of the University and Allied Workers Union, UAWU. The meeting was called to, among other things, discuss the UAW's concern that the signing of the agreement by the JCTU, of which it is a member, was premature. The union, which has concernedly indicated that it will temporarily withdraw from the Confederation. Under the agreement, public sector workers will receive a 5% increase in the first year, 2% in year 2, 4% in year 3, and a 5% increase in the fourth year of the contract. Other members of the JCTU have complained that the wage offer is not adequate to cushion against inflation.
The Negril Educational Environmental Trust, NEET, is one of those organizations offering hope to some of Negril's youths, and so far the participants say their experience has been life-changing. TVJ's Kirk Wright reports.
A ray of hope is brought to you by
Sports bringing value home.
Businessman Winston Wellington started the NEET program in 2003 to help change the lives of the youths in Negril. Through the program, computers have been installed in schools in Negril, while tablets have been handed out free of cost to participants. Additionally, Mr. Wellington says every Saturday the children are given extra lessons.
We have what you call a tablet class, in which we bring in 50 children and 50 parents, and they go through an 8-week course. 2 hours every Saturday from 10 a.m. until 12 p.m. And then we teach the parents and children the 4 pillars of success, which are honesty, punctuality, a good attitude, and discipline.
The students only get the tablets at the end of the program. They remain lifelong members of NEET.
A thing called Khan Academy, a revolutionary way of teaching maths and science, plus many other subjects. And also we have a set of do's and don'ts. Boys cannot wear the pants below the waist. Girls have to dress appropriately. Anger management, proper parenthood, Each one teach one. Everything you teach them, you teach it to the others.
The participants admit the program helps them in various ways.
The Khan Academy that they put on my tablet helped me to know math so that I can be the top girl of the NEET program and also on the principal's honor roll.
It helped me to get on time for anywhere I'm going. And tell you to be a good person, kind to each other.
Precious Reynolds, a teacher at the Revival All-Age School and a volunteer at NEET, says she has seen some fundamental changes in her students who participate in the NEET program.
We have seen improvement in terms of discipline, improvement in terms of Spanish because they have the Spanish apps on the tablets and they use it. You know, children are drawn to technology. So I've seen improvement. I've seen children who were not coming to school early. They are now coming to school early.
Last week, the students had Culture Day, and Mr. Wellington says that's also one of the medium through which they help to expose the participants. I'm Kirk Wright for Ray of Hope.
A Ray of Hope is brought to you by
Sports bringing value home.
Time now for the responses from our friends on Facebook and Twitter, and Archie is at the smartboard.
Thank you, Doreen. Here's our question this evening. We're asking, do you think there are adequate safeguards to protect Jamaican schools from mass shootings that are common in the United States? First comment is that the schools don't, but let's face it, as wicked as criminals are, I don't think mass shootings will ever happen in Jamaica anytime soon. Our children might be bad, but they're not fool or mentally ill. Just saying. One might get the idea, but the thought would quickly perish. The next statement is that no, there aren't any safeguards, but the policymakers can mitigate any such activity through education in the very schools they speak of. Our next comment is saying not at all. When America sneezes, Jamaica catches a cold, and with what's going on over there, the students here will follow, especially because they have access to guns. And there's our final comment. Well, considering that children have great access to guns in Jamaica, to be honest, I don't think we have enough for a small shooting, much less a mass shooting. Check our track record in past times. Keep your comments coming on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/Television Jamaica and the tweets to @TelevisionJam. Business news and news from overseas after the break.